Hey guys, these will be the notes for your digestive system station. The digestive system is going to have two main functions. The first function is probably pretty obvious. You're going to use your digestive system to break down food. Okay? We usually eat food in larger quantities like cheeseburgers, french fries, and we actually need to break down that food into smaller particles so that we are able to absorb those good nutrients, those good molecules that we need to keep our body healthy. The second part of our digestive system is to actually absorb those good molecules, those good nutrients, in order to keep our body healthy. So we are going to say for the second function, we're going to take in the nutrients from the food through a process called absorption. So again, two functions. We got to break down food into good molecules that we want to be able to then absorb into our body and use. There are two ways that we break down food: mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion is the physical breakdown of food. One example of physical or mechanical digestion is the use of your teeth. Okay, so you put that cheeseburger in your mouth. Your teeth are going to physically break down that cheeseburger into smaller pieces. The next is going to be chemical digestion, which is what it's going to be exactly like it sounds like. It's the chemical breakdown of food. And two examples of this might be the use of your saliva, which are going to break down carbohydrates right in your mouth, or the acid that's in your stomach. This mechanical digestion is the breakdown to smaller pieces. The chemical digestion will be actually breaking down those molecules a little bit further through the use of things like saliva and acid. If we take a look at this diagram down here, it's just a physical representation of what the digestive system does. So what we have is we have a big starch molecule up here. You can see the long chain of molecules. What we'll do is we'll have digestion happen. So through mechanical and chemical means, that long chain of molecules will be broken down into smaller molecules. Those smaller molecules will then be absorbed. Again, that process is absorption into your bloodstream. And then, through the use of the circulatory system or the cardiovascular system, we can actually transport those molecules. So we have the food that's broken down through digestion in mechanical and chemical means. It's absorbed into the body, and then it's transported to the place that it needs to be. Now we need to know a ton of organs for the digestive system, okay? And we're going to run through them all. The first organ is going to be our mouth. And in our mouth, teeth and saliva start the process by breaking down and moistening food. And again, this will be both mechanical and chemical digestion. The saliva will moisten and break down the food, and then the teeth will mechanically break down. The esophagus is going to be the smooth muscle tube that transports food to the stomach. So after the food's in your mouth, you swallow, that food goes down your esophagus and lands in your stomach, which is a muscular organ that again breaks down the food even further through chemical and mechanical digestion. So this means that when we use the chemical digestion with that acid, it will break it down a little bit further and break down those molecules, but your stomach also goes through mechanical digestion, which means it's going to twist and turn that food around. We then have our small intestine, which is going to be a little tube that absorbs key nutrients that we get from the food that we eat. What's going to help us do this in our small intestine is our villi. Our villi act like a paper towel. And they're going to absorb the nutrients that are broken down now and passing through your small intestine. The large intestine is going to be a wider tube, but it's a little bit shorter, that absorbs water. And then finally, our last three, we have our liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. For all the organs that we just took notes on, food is actually passing through those organs. So the food goes in our mouth, travels down our esophagus, goes into our stomach, then our large intestine, and then our small intestine to our large intestine. These three are going to be organs that help digestion, but food actually is not going to pass through them. The first organ we got to talk about is the liver, which produces bile. And what bile does is it neutralizes the stomach acid. So what we don't want is that stomach acid, which is going to chemically break down our food, to go into our small intestine as an acid. So we're going to actually secrete this bile, which is going to neutralize that acid and make it safe for our small intestine to handle. Our gallbladder is going to be storing that bile. So your liver makes bile over time, your gallbladder stores it, and then when it's needed, it releases it to neutralize that acid. And then finally we have our pancreas, which is actually going to produce insulin. And insulin is going to regulate your blood sugar, which means that if you break down all this food that you've been eating, you're going to get a lot of glucose molecules, which we talked about before, floating around in your bloodstream. If there's too much of those glucose molecules, your body needs to produce this insulin in order to make them usable and be taken up by your cells. So it's actually going to regulate your blood sugar level and allow that glucose molecule to enter different cells, for instance, like your muscle cells, for it to be used for cellular respiration to create energy to be able to go about our daily lives. So your pancreas actually produces that insulin, and again, it regulates blood sugar.